we've seen a little bit of slander. Well, you could say it's slander. You could say it's just common sense from a certain Mr. Nico Rosberg. And if anyone in the F1 world is entitled to have an opinion on the drivers and be, listened to beyond us, to fans who kind of don't really know what they're talking about, it's Nico Rosberg, surely. Talking about Lance Stroll, believes if he doesn't get back to how he should be performing, Aston Martin will need to find a more capable driver.
Yeah, I was going to ask where you were going with he needs to get back to, because he hasn't actually been there. So there isn't really a place to get back to, because this is kind of what we've... Apart from that one time where he was randomly on pole in Turkey.
This is what I mean.
And that whole time, actually, no, he was all right then. There's like a super period.
Isolated incidences. Incidents where, Turkey P1, podium at Monza, which, I mean, big dose of luck, but fair enough, because he got a free tyre change in the red flag. Technically, whatever. And the start of 2020, he was actually on flames, was Lance Stroll. He was pretty good at the start of 2020.
And when he broke his hand.
When he broke his hand.
Yeah, so, he was actually better then.
Wow, Bahrain was probably his performance of the year. I want to just contrast that statement with another statement from, who may have a vested interest, perhaps Mike Crack. Team principal of Aston Martin.
Still not a name that can run, but carry on.
He thinks that Stroll can match Alonso.
Right.
So who's capping? I mean, is it Nico or is it?
It might be Mr. Crack, to be honest with you. I
Mr.
think,
Crack.
Yeah.
That's wild, man.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. Because. To be honest, I thought that quote was going to come from ye olde Lawrence. I'm not going to lie. I thought that might have been Lawrence Stroll coming in with that sort of like...
Yeah, but you know who... Like, Mike knows who's paying his mortgage.
This is it. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. I think he knows he doesn't want to upset, Dad Lawrence Stroll, realistically. Just pander to his son a little bit. He'll stay in the job for a little while longer. I think that's the vested interest there, because if we really think about it, there's absolutely no world in which Lance Stroll ever matches Fernando Alonso, which is fine. Fernando Alonso is amazing. Fernando Alonso is still amazing even at his current age, but saying that is just criminal. Maybe in 11 years when Fernando Alonso is 53, potentially, that's fine. Maybe that's what he's going for. Maybe he just means in general in life, at some point, he'll be able to.
Okay, he wasn't even talking about racing car. He wasn't talking about racing cars. He was just cooking.
Yeah.
Maybe Stroll can match Alonso in the kitchen.
To be fair.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? But look, to advocate for the devil somewhat, because. In Mike's statement, he referenced the gap between Stroll and Vettel last year and being like, Stroll has proven that he can be close to Vettel, a four-time world champion, and that maybe there's, this is a bad patch of form for Lance. Now, we don't have any straws to clutch.
Yeah, unfortunately.
In the studio right now.
We'll bring them next time.
Yeah. I think... What is that like? Why was Lance? Because he was. If you look at the numbers, you look at his gap relative to Vettel last year in what was a low car at the start of the year to low to low midfield car. Him and Vettel were pretty close. I think Vettel had the edge for sure, but you look at the qualifying head-to-head and average gap and all that, it's pretty close. Why is that gap so much bigger this year?
You know what it feels like? It feels like now that they've got a car that, obviously, again, they've kind of fallen back a little bit from where they were at the start of the season. Obviously, it's always hard to look from a points perspective, because obviously it gets accentuated when you get higher up the order.
True.
Because the gaps between points are massive.
Yep.
So if there's a 3-place gap between 13th and 16th, where they were last year, fine, no one cares, because you don't get neither of you get points.
Yeah. But
when it's for 3rd and 6th, suddenly and that's happening every week, and that's suddenly a lot bigger. I think if I'm honest with you, I think Fernando is probably just in a slightly stronger position at this point in his career than Seb was in his final year at Aston. I think Seb improved from where he was that sort of disaster season at Ferrari with that car that was extremely difficult to drive and Spinala gate and whatever. But yeah, I don't know. It might just be a drop off in form, to be fair. But I think, I don't know, Lance has been in sort of like average to like middling cars for a while. Maybe he's just struggling to get up to speed with one that's actually a bit quicker. It's got a bit more grip. He's just not used to that. But also, you end up racing the cream of the crop when you get towards the top of the table and the top of the order. And I don't know if he's the cream. He's like the... What's below the cream?
The cream. It's like single cream.
You see, he's not whipped cream. No. He's like, because that does flow at the top.
Yeah.
In it, but he's like the single cream at the bottom. He's still got a whisk it. So I think that's my conclusion.
Well, I do think as well. I think Fernando's gone to Aston Martin and immediately got this car, which, I mean, first race of the season, it was the kind of second quickest. He was up there fighting for comfortable podium in the end. Whereas Sebastian, I think he'd gone to Aston Martin with this, this opportunity presented itself. Things hadn't worked out at Ferrari and they went for him. And during his time at Aston Martin, their performances were, not amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, again, that car struggled when he first jumped into it. It struggled with the new regulations as well. I think that motivation is probably a thing as well. I can imagine, right? Surely Fernando getting this car that's like a top car, clearly at the start of the season, particularly this year, versus Sebastian starting last year with a car that was absolute, and he missed the first couple races, didn't he, as well?
Yeah.
Hulkenberg replaced him. So I think from a motivation point of view, I can imagine that Fernando was going to be more like the Vettel retired at the end of last year. He chose to retire. He made that decision, like at least whenever he made the announcement in the summer break, he would have made that decision before then as well.
Probably quite a long time before then as well.
So I think a difference in motivation probably accounts for some of that gap, but also I do think Alonso is the more adaptable driver between him and Vettel, and I think that's why Lance is being put to the sword so badly. But we've talked about this before, this is his 7th year in the sport. So yes, he's still young, but after 7 years, how much more room is there for you to grow? You look at how impressive Piastri's been after 14 races in F1. Liam Lawson even, he's had 2 and he's been pretty decent.
You can argue with both of those. There's been again, even though Liam has only literally done 2 races, the improvement that you saw in his second race in comparison to his first was pretty evident. Oscar throughout the entire year so far. Obviously, he started off pretty well, struggled because the McLaren was so slow. But now the McLaren is genuinely an easier car to drive, a lot quicker. He has been progressing the entire way through. So, I think, honestly, the performances you got out of Stroll in, say, 2019, the same performances you get now. I don't think, apart from there might be some level of experience in some calls, but Zandvoort, for example, he was one that was really caught out. Though in fairness, Aston Martin made a poor decision with him as well. I think he did want to pit in the rain. But, there's certain times where he's starting towards the back of the grid. And it's I don't feel like the experience is actually sort of outweighing the performances at the moment because he's still driving as if it's 2019 in terms of overall performance.
It's tough to you can't justify it from a meritocratic point of view. You just can't justify his continued especially if Aston Martin want to go on to achieve things, and that's where
it's like when
going to get a bit hairy for him.
It's like when you're young and you play for your school or whatever. Playing football for your school, and there's always the kid that plays up front. He doesn't score, he doesn't bag goals. But he's the son of your English teacher.
Bruv, I literally, I won't name names, but when I was playing through most of my peak when I was about 15.
Before the knee injury.
Yeah, exactly. Before it went wrong. And there was this kid, man, and he was the manager's son, and he always started in attacking centre mid. And he was so shit. And I'm like, oh, why was he playing?
Yeah,
it was just
put
so
him
bad.
at left back and let's get on with it.
I know. And funnily enough, the manager didn't see it because,
I wonder why. Lawrence isn't seeing it either, man.
Yeah,